Alright, ladies and gents, time to put on the hype glasses. Time to go get your hype shoes. Time to go get your snacks, your popcorn, your mugs of apple juice, which I conveniently have right here. And I no longer conveniently have now. We're diving right into chapter 290 because it's very simple. This chapter is hype. That's all there is to it. It's hype. It's right. It's ready for I don't know. Fright. I don't know. I've been beating around the bush too much. Let's go ahead and dive actually this time into the chapter. This chapter is called Dabi's Dance, which we all knew already. At least I kind of did. I didn't really put the apostrophe S at the end of it, but I think most people can understand grammatical errors in English, right? So we begin with Todoroki's mother at the, is it a mental? It's just I'll just call it the hospital. And the doctors are running towards down the hallway saying to turn the TV off. And we get we start getting a speech coming on the TV. And it says, "I watched you from afar, so I wasn't really certain for sure if this was the right room." And then the TV that Todoroki's mother is watching starts to, static a bit. And then she goes, "Oh, I noticed it." And then when it restatics is when we get our footage of Dabi sitting on a couch. So right here, this is where we begin Dabi revealing to his mother that he is Toyo Todoroki. However, we will not get to see the end of that video yet because we cut to the battle with Shigaraki here. And if you're a Dabi fan, hold steady because we're going to get a little bit of Shigaraki action. And then we're going to dive back into some Dabi action here. So we dive back to Shiggy, who is currently Doc Ocking it up. And Gigantomachia makes it to the fight. So an interesting thing here is All For One is controlling Shigaraki's body to a point, and he says it's amusing how Tomura's body isn't collapsing even after being faced with the full force of One For All and Endeavor. I've allocated most of the pain towards the mutant quirk within his spine in order to minimize the damage, but even after all that, he shouldn't be able to move. He says what's left is to order Machia for a forced retreat. So Shigaraki is kind of overcoming his limits here, despite him fighting every hero on the planet, and we see Todoroki trying to fight Shigaraki, and Todoroki knows the situation. He says taking on Machia and Shigaraki is actually suicide. He has to defeat Shigaraki now, so then they can focus solely on Gigantomachia. So Todoroki is now full-fledged focused on Shigaraki, and Shigaraki just says, "Give me a break, will ya?" He literally doesn't get a break. Literally looking like a freaking Walking Dead zombie. We then see Todoroki do the thermal revolution and Nejire do the output 100% for the flash freeze heat wave green flood move, which looks pretty damn sick if I do say so myself. I'll go ahead and put it up on screen most likely. It looks pretty sick. So Nejire is also in the fight, or Nejire, I don't know her name to be real, but Todoroki and her are in the fight as Endeavor tells them to run. And Gigantomachia comes in with a handful of rocks and slams everything aside, blowing up dust over Endeavor and everybody and picking up Shigaraki with one of his fingers. We then cut to Ida, who is currently trying to, run everybody out of the battlefield, and Bakugo ends up saying, "Put me down," and he says, "We need a complete victory." So Bakugo is going to just be himself, right? He knows that taking L's ain't okay. That's not good. That's not okay. So he is going to get his ass back up and attempt to fight. There's no way he's going to do shit. But you know what? You go, buddy. You alright? You go. We then cut back to Machia, who has picked up Shigaraki with his hand and says, "Master, give me your next order. Anything you want." And it looks like Shigaraki is completely collapsed, bro. He's out. It looks like he is just fucking out. Endeavor wakes up. He realizes that he is, gravely injured. His lungs have been pierced. It's hard for him to breathe, but he's got to defeat Shiggy and Makia now because he is number one. And we get a nice little panel of him saying, "I'm the top hero of this nation." We then cut to the man of the hour as Dabi says, "There you are. From here you all look like ants." He says, "Hey, Shoto's here too. Wonderful. Long time no see." And this is where Endeavor says, "Dabi. To make matters worse, the League is here." And Dabi takes out what it looks like is, do you remember in Space Jam when they use the secret stuff? It's just water in a bottle. That's what this looks like. It looks like he just has water in a bottle. He pours it over his hair. And he says, "Don't be that way. Why must you call me by my villain moniker?" And he says, "When I have such a respectable name, which is Toya." And we see here that the, black hair dye has kind of been ruffled out by the water on his face. And I'm assuming it's the hair color of Toya because this is black and white. And that's the panel that we get here with Dabi. And oh, buckaroo, is it a good panel? This is when everyone gets hit with a wave of whoa, confusion. Endeavor says nothing. Todoroki says nothing. He says, "Sure, my face may have ended up like this, but I had hoped that my own family at least would recognize me." Deku is on the ground. He realizes who this is. And we cut back to the television screen and Todoroki's mother, Ure, who's just kind of staring. And this is where we get a big speech from Dabi. So Dabi ends up saying, "I, Toya Todoroki, was born as the eldest son of Endeavor. I've killed over 30 innocent people until now. I would like to let everyone know why I'd end up committing such a hideous act." And we get shirtless Dabi here. So if you like shirtless Dabi, then by all means, please look at that panel. But what's happening here is Dabi is explaining his life story, but apparently he has broadcasted. So Ray is not the only one seeing this. Anyone who's having a TV right now and was watching the Makia and Shigaraki fight is now seeing Dabi's pre-recorded broadcast. So what Dabi is doing is he explained his life story, saying that he was, Endeavor forcibly took a wife and tried to give birth to a child who could possess a more powerful quirk than him, because of Endeavor's obsession with surpassing All Might. He says, "I was created for my father's selfish dream. However, I was deemed a failure and quickly abandoned, tossed aside, and forgotten. But I never forgot. I watched their activities from afar. People like to think of their actions as free from guilt, but they're not." So basically what happens here is Dabi ends up saying, "My pre-recorded life story is being broadcasted right now all around the airwaves and the internet. How exhilarating your disgraceful fall as a hero has begun." So it looks like Dabi at this point is now just trying to ruin Endeavor's reputation by bringing up the past. I think people already knew that Endeavor wasn't really the best person previously. He's definitely taken up responsibility since becoming number one, but I don't think the people will just brush it aside this time. This actually might truly be the fall of Endeavor here. And with Shigaraki kind of out of commission from what it looks like, and Makia, it looks like we might be getting the Todoroki family triad fight coming up here in the next few chapters. So this arc truly has everything. Alright, we have Shigaraki versus Deku, teasers and reveals. We have a Makia fight. We had the Hawks versus Dabi and Twice fight. Now we're getting the Todoroki family triad along with the Toya reveal in this arc. This arc is going to be absolute insanity when it's animated. And an interesting thing here that I didn't know about, maybe some of you guys did, is Toya, Dabi says, "Did you know that I used to go to Natsu-kun every day, asking him in tears why I existed?" That hits deep right there, because it's obvious that Endeavor was trying to have a child who could harness both quirks of Ray's ice and his fire. However, Dabi was born with the body of an ice user, but an even more powerful quirk than Endeavor's fire. So it's very obvious that Dabi has gone through a lot of pain in his life. However, it looks like he has fully embraced the villain moniker, I guess to say, the villain side of his persona. And he said his original plan was to wait until Shoto had gotten popular, then he'd kill Shoto, and then in an absurdly convenient turn of events, you finally became number one. So then his plan changed when Endeavor became number one. We then get a nice panel of Dabi just dancing it up because Shoto and Endeavor are just shocked, and Dabi ends up saying, did you think... He says, so first you didn't die when Dabi unleashed the high-end Nomu, and then he says, then, did you think your heart had been purified when you kind of embraced yourself as a father figure to your children, make you feel safe knowing that you had a familial bond with them? He says, you seriously thought if you kept your eyes forward towards the future, the past would just forget itself, didn't you? And then here we get probably my favorite panel and quote of the chapter, when it says, it's time for someone to give you a little life lesson. And then Dabi looks at him all crazy with, I think it was red hair. He says, the past never forgets. What a you reap what you sow moment. Let us fall together, NG Todoroki. Come dance with your son in hell. And of course we knew that that Dabi was dancing previously, giving me like mad Joker vibes, right? Some Joker dancing. But that quote, the past never forgets. Come dance with your son in hell. We're here, boys. The Todoroki family triad. The fight is coming. All right, it's coming. Whether it's next chapter or a few, we finally made it. We finally got the Toya Todoroki reveal, and Endeavor and Shoto are still up and running. So it looks like this is going to be quite an emotional, personal battle coming up here. We'll see if Shigaraki is still out of commission or if he can still move. Makia is for sure still able to fight. The League of Villains is here as well. Toga and Compress are still up here. Dabi. It's not looking good for the heroes here, boys. With Deku out of commission, Bakugo's gone. It's just going to be Shoto, Nejire, Ida, and a really, really beat up Endeavor, boys. It's not looking good. But we'll see what goes on next week. There is no break in the week of November for Shonen Jump. So we're going to be getting My Hero Academia straight through on schedule. We don't have to wait an extra week for anything. So buckle your seatbelts, boys. It's going to be quite a bumpy November if you're a My Hero Academia fan.